Like, we're not men bashers. We're not people who are dishonoring, or we're not feminists. I'm not a feminist, actually. Wouldn't qualify you as that either.
I'm trying to decide where to go, but historically, this is what I will say. Historically, feminism absolutely discounts black women. Even the right to vote, it had nothing to do with us. Women's suffrage was not about black women.
Hey there, and welcome back to Soul Talk by Mdrn Woman. Soul Talk is where we gather to share stories about our lives that really create a space of solidarity where other sisters can listen, heal, and grow from the experiences that we share. I am Alicia Nicole, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. Today we are starting a new series. We are talking about flipping the script on the narrative about women. This series is Real Talk about the narrative about women, and my friend and sister Melanie joins me to discuss this topic that is not discussed nearly as much as it should be. The false narrative about women historically, how it shaped our lives and our self-perceptions and our journeys in life. We need to talk about this. And in having this conversation with Melanie, there were so many things that were coming to mind about how I saw myself, how I do see myself, things that I believed about myself throughout life that need to be reworked and have been being reworked, and I didn't really know why I struggled with it, but as we talked, I got so much clarity. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a men bashing series, but as women, we need a safe place where we can talk about what our experience has been like. And like I said, Soul Talk is all about creating that kind of space for us to have these conversations, to deal with some of the things that come along with being a woman in this day and age. All right, so we go really deep into the topic, what the historical narrative about women has been, how it's impacted us, and we start off from the gate with some heavy topics relating to women's suffrage and even the lack of representation for black women and how it's influenced our lives. So I just encourage you to listen with an open mind and an open heart. Be willing to hear another perspective, even if you don't agree with it, and know that even if it's not your story, it's someone else's story, and it's worth listening to and honoring and respecting. All right, so get ready for a lot of love, a lot of laughter, because we laugh a lot, and some real talk straight from the heart about this topic that is so very important to me. All right, let's tune in.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Soul Talk with Mdrn Woman podcast. Woo! I'm so excited. This one's gonna be good. I hadn't fully decided the title of this series until like maybe a few minutes ago. We're gonna call it Revamping the Narrative of Women in History. All right?
I really like that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And the person who just said, I like that, I really like that, is Mel. I have another one of my wonderful sisters and good friends on. Hey, Mel.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Melanie and I have a lot of good history, which we're going to talk about in a second. But Mel, as I'm starting all of my series, why am I talking like this? I don't know. Like I always start, I just love for you to share a little bit about yourself, a little bit about who you are, whatever you want to share.
Okay.
Go for it.
So my name is Melanie. I like to say that I love to laugh. I love love. I love hard, and I love Jesus. I absolutely adore my friends. I'm a professional student. That's what people like to say, but I just finished my master's program, and probably next year I'll start my PhD MD program. So yeah, I enjoy education, but it's really important for my purpose, so I don't mind. And I have a few businesses that I'm currently building. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and all that stuff begs so many more questions that we cannot get into right now. I was actually referencing you in a recent video, and I was like, I have a friend who just got a master's in something that's so long I can't even remember and say the name right. That friend is Melanie.
It's me. It is.
Yes, it is totally her. So I want to share a little bit about our friendship and how we got to know each other. So what I'd like for you to do is first, I want you to share the very first memory that you have of meeting me. And then I'm going to do the same. Okay? What do you remember when you first met me?
Just like in person or like period? Because this is the thing about it. Okay? So we were introduced virtually, all right?
Yes.
Before we met in person, and because we had been meeting online, connecting online, praying together online, right? We were building a relationship from my perspective. We were building a good relationship. So by the time I met Alicia in person, I was like full-fledged Melanie, like in your face, hug me, I love you, like, because that's who I am. So my first memory of her in person, but she did not now. I will say after the fact I learned this, but she was like fully there, okay? When I was like, oh my God, Alicia, like hug her, just everything like we've known each other forever. And she met me there, but later on I found out she was like, oh my God, this girl is intense.
Yes.
Which is hilarious to me.
That is, yeah. So my first, I don't really remember. I remember meeting you the very, very first time on a phone call, I think it was. I don't even know if it was like a Zoom meeting.
I don't think it was a Zoom meeting. I think it was a phone call too.
Yes. So we had a few sessions on the phone, and I don't know when the Zoom happened. I don't think I saw you in those meetings until we met. And I was like, this girl is probably the most comfortable person I've ever met and the most bubbly, joyous person I've ever met, because you laugh at almost anything. So I am. Even if your jokes are terrible, she'll be like, oh, that's so adorable, it was so terrible. That is exactly what I remember just being like, she's so lovable and so friendly and so just exuberant. So even though I was like, whoa, I don't think that anymore because I know you so much better. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that was my first impression, that my first thought, like, wow.
Yeah.
She's so comfortable immediately.
I am like, whenever I take personality tests, which I don't think are 100% on, but let me tell you what they get every time. I'm like always ranked 96 to 98% extrovert. And I can't deny that. I can't deny it. I got it honestly. I really did.
It's great. That's what makes it work. So I love Melanie. Melanie is, like she said, a serial student, a serial entrepreneur, and a really great friend. And the reason why I really wanted you to do this particular series with me is because you are a studious history person. Like when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, there's no other person but Melanie, like absolutely no other option, because we were talking about the history of women. And one of the things I really appreciate about you is that you not only study to know history, you study to know a topic, but you have really well thought out, clear ideas on it. And the way that I really want to present it is different than what you typically hear.
Okay.
So my opening statement, my thought is it pretentious or blasphemous even to say that women are history? Like, that's one of the phrases that I was thinking about with this episode. I can see the wheels turning. So what do you think? Is it too much? Is it going too far to say that women are history?
No, I don't think it's going too far at all. And I feel like, that statement can be said a couple different ways, but we're going to take it like women are history, because without us, the things that have happened in history would not have. Right? Like, we have significantly contributed to history, whether given credit or not. Our presence definitely turns wheels. It definitely changes games. So I don't think it's pretentious. I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's blasphemous, because I mean, from creation, God was like, hold up a second. You can't be here by yourself. So I think we are a significant part of history and the future.
Amen. Yeah, I personally, I didn't have an answer to that question when I wrote it. And, it makes me a little uncomfortable to say it because I'm not saying women are everything. I want to clarify that. And I'm not saying that men don't have a place in the narrative or the picture.
No, of course not.
What my perspective has been is that women's voice and their place in the narrative has been written by men typically, and men who don't even understand or appreciate or value who a woman is, what women are, and what they bring to the table, and we are not, we're not men bashers. We're not people who are dishonoring, or we're not feminists. I'm not a feminist, actually. Wouldn't qualify you as that either, would you?
No. I mean, I'm trying to decide where to go, but historically, this is what I will say. Historically, feminism absolutely discounts Black women. So I can't identify, with that movement overall, because that movement never included us. And I think now today, people try to, but it's just not the same, because when you look through women's history and, women, even the right to vote, it had nothing to do with us. Women's suffrage was not about Black women. So I can't identify with that movement because it was never about my rights and my freedoms. So it's a no for me.
Yeah, man, Mel, that's such a good point. As a point, I didn't even consider anything that I can think back to regarding women's suffrage, learning it, reading it about it in school. All the pictures never had Black women. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so I think for me, this is all about establishing that women should have a voice in their own narrative. That is one of the things that has really driven me with Mdrn Woman. One of the things that God told me as I've been praying over, what is this about? What am I doing? Why did you call me to do this? Because when I first started, it was man, being a single woman, making it in this world is a lot. There's so many things that I've come up against, things I've learned, even wonderful things that have happened that I just didn't know what came along with it. I was I want to help out other women who are about to walk through some of these things so they have a leg up. They have a road sign that says, hey, when you buy a home, when you consider dating someone, when you are considering a career change, here are things to think about. That's what I thought I was doing. Just, putting some road signs up, and, it's become so much more.
It's and one of the things more than we think it is, right?
Always more. And one of the things that the Father told me, this is what God told me. God, Himself. Is that, women, the way that women are perceived oftentimes, not by everybody, but by women and many men, and what has been, or the role that we've been given, the narrative and the perspective on who we are has become in some ways, in some cultures, probably many ways, in many cultures, a thing that He never meant it for it to be. And because I know that I'm generalizing here. Go with me, have grace. Men historically have said this is your role as a woman. And men are very dominant. They're powerful. They're great. They're awesome. I love them, but they can oftentimes have a tendency to say, you're weaker. I know what's best and right for you. And in a lot of ways get their strength from women and not even realize that the reason why you could get that done is because you had a woman there to help you, to guide you and whatnot. But there have been positions and roles that men have filled that were meant for women because they cannot give everything. No one can be all the things. Just like it's hard for a single dad to be a single dad, it is hard for a single mom to be a single mom. There's a lot, and the Lord has to bring in people to help fulfill the roles that you can't. In general, in the narrative of women, I realized when I was preparing for this series that I can't recall a time that I ever learned anything in school where it was a woman's voice that set the narrative for who she was and what she brought to the table and what she was thinking and what she was doing. was always from a man's perspective.
Always.
You know? And why is that? Like, why aren't women allowed to say what they meant by what they said and what they did and why they want to do what they want to do? You know?
Patriarchy. I mean, I say that like that. Like, it's something that me and my sister say back and forth as a joke, but it's true. Because society is very much historically and currently set up in a patriarchal form where men are everything. Everything is male dominated. The narrative is male dominated to the point where, I mean, now we're still achieving first. Like, we're still achieving first. Yeah. You know, we have our first female vice president who's a minority. Like, and it's 2021. Yeah. How problematic is that? You know, like, we still haven't had a female president. There's just a lot of, I think, we especially have a double whammy because we're not just women, we're black women. Yeah. So we're at the bottom of the totem pole here. And when it comes to the hierarchy of society, everybody feels like they get to control our narrative. And it's been a long time coming of us actually being empowered enough to speak for ourselves and to get in positions of power where we can say, no, this is what this is what it's about. And to this day, you still see us, you know, being told, you know, how it's best to present, you know, still. Like, even though we have a lot more liberation in the expression of our hair, there's only very few states who actually have a Crown Act that allows us to be protected for wearing our natural hair in professional settings. It still is viewed as unprofessional. You know, like stuff like that. Stuff like, I cannot respond to you in a passionate way without you thinking I'm an angry black woman, right? When I'm really just passionate about whatever I'm saying. There's no anger. And even if I am angry, so what? Anger is a normal feeling. Like everybody gets angry. Everybody feels passion about certain topics. What is different about my passion, and why is my passion intimidating? That is so problematic, but it is from years of men controlling the narrative, and specifically white men controlling our narrative and the narrative of society. When you look through history, it's written by white men. So to have our history written by people who didn't even respect us as human beings, didn't respect our bodies, compared us to animals, raped and took advantage of us, we can't have an expectation that they're going to be in a position where they even care what our actual narrative is, right? So it's taken a long time for us to be able to control our own narrative, and in many ways we're still fighting for that control, and it's still an issue because I think by and large people have trouble with empathy and respecting other people's humanity, but specifically the idea and the notion that men are just the first and the last. Y'all in law, like, I think that contributes a lot to the mindset that women have not been significant contributors to history, and it really is just a lie.
Goodness gracious, I tell you, this segment really spoke to me because Melanie highlighted a reality that I lived in, but I couldn't quite name, like I mentioned in the intro. And listen, again, we're not here to shame anyone. We're telling our story in the hopes that you can find some light and understanding for your own journey, okay? If you are not If you're a woman of another race listening, this is a great opportunity for you to learn about the experience of a sister from another ethnicity and be informed, all right? You can be a part of the solution, whatever that looks like for you. And that's not to say that women of other ethnicities don't have issues. Melanie and I are Black American women. So this is where we're coming from. And I think it's great. I would love to hear your story. If you have another narrative that you've experienced, send me a message. Tell me about it. I want to hear it. All right. So there's so much more great conversation to be had. Check out the sneak peek of episode 9.
What I felt like the Lord was communicating to me in that is like, daughter, yes, being a virtuous woman is something that you have to grow into. But do you know that it's a gift for a man to be allowed to take a virtuous woman as his wife? She is so amazing and wonderful that he could not pay the highest dowry price for her. There's no way for a man to have a true woman as a wife. She's got to be a gift, because he can never pay enough to afford how amazing and wonderful she is. And that was a whole different perspective on what that scripture meant. Because the way I've always heard it is like, oh, you know, it's so hard to be a virtuous woman to be good enough for a man. But if you get good enough for your husband, then, you know, he's going to be real blessed to have you. And that's not what the scripture says.
That's not what it is. It's not what it says at all.
Okay, so if you think that episode 8 has been deep, as you can hear, episode 9 goes even deeper. You can tell from the sneak peek that we're going in. All right, so talking even more about the real narrative about women and how it's affected us and how we can shift it, okay? It's going to be rolling out next week, next Thursday or Friday, so please join the Mdrn Woman community on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Mdrn Woman.cc, and I have a fantastic YouTube channel with lots of inspirational videos called Mdrn Woman as well. Remember, Mdrn spelled MDRN. All right. So thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining in with me today. It's wonderful to do life with you and have community with you. And thank you so much for joining the story. We will catch you in the next episode. Bye now.